Hello and happy Friday afternoon to everyone joining us today live. And thank you for those of you catching the replay recording later, either on our Facebook or YouTube channel. Thanks for coming in. I'm always happy to see you. I'm Michelle, Education Director with ASIS Massage Education. And I'll try every Friday to bring you some great interviews with some wonderful trailblazers in our massage and bodywork field. Today's no exception. Really looking forward to having a chat today with our guest. Gil Hedley has agreed to be on today and chat a little bit about getting into the work that he has done and particularly helping us all understand anatomy that much better. And I'm really looking forward to talking about the new projects that he has going on, including the membership program that he has on his website. So without further ado, let's bring Gil on. Hello, Gil. How are you?
Hello, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
Yay!
Oh, look at that.
Got some special effects.
How fun. That's great.
Yeah.
Like
so thanks so much for agreeing to come in. I know you have a couple things going on today and trying to move offices and such. So I really appreciate you doing this. And I'm a bit of a fan from all the work. I've been in the field about 20 years now and have been following a lot of what you've done. So getting to know you a little bit more and how it all came about, I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into like body work to begin with, and then a little bit of how then you decided to go down this avenue to work more into getting deeper into anatomy?
Yeah. Well, I was very much pure intellectual floating above my body. And somewhere in grad school, I was like, I need to know this thing a little better. And I started doing Tai Chi. I practiced Tai Chi in graduate school. And our teacher taught us acupressure massage as part of our class, which I did every day for 7 years. Cool. So I had a lot of hands-on in grad school that way. And that I didn't really want to be a professor, it turns out. So not in academia, at least, because I didn't want to just be purely out of my body. So instead, I learned about Ida Rolf a little bit. And she I saw that she was like a healer and an educator. And I was like, wow, that's it. That's my combination there. I want to be a healer and an educator. And she inspired me that way. So I trained as a Rolfer, and that required going to practice massage first. So I learned massage and then trained as a Rolfer. And during practicing that work, I was like, wow, I don't know anything at all about the body still. All this training. So I really have to go a little deeper. I have to do some dissection. And that kind of got me on the road to dissection and quickly became my passion.
Oh, I love that. So at the time, where did you know like how to dive deeper into that? Did that take a little while to figure out where the dissection opportunities were, or you knew that dissection was definitely the way to go?
Well, I had this handy degree called Ph.D. So I called up, first school I called up, I was like, hello, this is Dr. Hedley. I represent the anatomy faculty of the International Institute of Rolfing and blah, blah, blah. And I need a laboratory and a cadaver. Can you provide that, sir? And he was like, come down to my office and meet me. So I met Roger Faison, who became my hero and mentor and lifelong friend, and may he rest in peace. But none of this would have happened without Roger saying, yeah, you're crazy and you're a religion guy and not an anatomy guy, but yeah, you can come in. And
wow. Oh, so that's so amazing.
Yeah, he got me in the door, and Roger remains in my heart.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So are you still in that area where you first had your step into the lab, or how?
I was in New Jersey.
Okay.
And that was my longest standing venue. I taught there for 25 years.
Okay.
And then FEMA took them over in 2020.
Oh my gosh.
So fortunately, I had already shifted my energy to be working here in Colorado Springs, where I'm at the Institute for Anatomical Research in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
And thanks to the efforts of the folks who created that place, who were all friends of mine, basically, they kind of hoped that I would come.
Yeah.
and they kept working at it and made it the most wonderful heart-centered place that I can't leave now. So it's my only venue. And I actually won't even be teaching next year for the first time in 28 years, because I'm going to be working full-time on projects for my website.
Oh, that's wow. So bad
So,
news for the teaching, but great news for the website
well,
stuff.
good
Like,
news
well,
for the teaching, actually, because I
yeah,
have a faculty of 4 who are just very experienced, have worked with me for many years,
yeah.
and who it's about time I stepped back and allowed them
Let them shine a
to
little.
shine. Exactly. So
Yeah,
I'm going to shine in the background
love
and on
it.
the website, and they're going to shine in the lab, and I'll be around because I live here
Right.
and work in the lab. So I won't be far from the class happenings, and we'll be, meeting and greeting and at some point
Awesome.
probably Airbnb-ing our basement.
Oh,
uh, so we'll
oh,
see.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. So let's talk a little bit about the lab then and some of the classes. And I know I'm sure COVID affected some of the in-person offerings that you had, but
It didn't
the
affect me at all. I just kept doing my thing and pretended
uh,
nothing was going on. It worked out just great.
yeah, that's nice
I,
to do. Just in a little bubble, like everything
I
else can go away.
Yeah, I just did the bubble. And actually, I taught more classes in the lab than I usually do because everyone else
Mhm.
canceled. So the schedule was wide open. And what I did was I just hired that lab for a whole year and a half and did this enormous project, which I call the Anatomy from A to Z project,
Mhm.
which is also for the subscriber site. And basically, I took two human forms, two bodies,
Mhm.
Anna and Z. So I call it Anatomy from A to Z.
I love it.
And yeah, and I dissected them on camera, both of them, for 17 months and created really the biggest anatomy video compendium of two bodies that probably
Right.
exists. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it is amazing. I was just thinking, talking to a coworker that I was trying to explore a little bit more in the Explorer site. We'll talk a little bit
Hmm.
more about how people can do that and find out. And
Yeah.
I will be here for hours and hours and hours, and I've only like touched the surface of it. That there's so much content available on there. It's mind blowing. I
I'll
can't
tell
imagine
you,
how
and
much
it's
work.
and that's just a third of the A to Z project is up
Oh
so
my
far.
gosh.
So once I get in my new office, I'll be straight back to
Hmm.
editing. But
Yeah.
I had a person, I have to tell you the story, a person in my one of my dissection classes this year, and she was so good. I was like, how did you like? And I was naming structure. She said, oh, that's the such and such. I'm like, no one knows that stuff. This is like
Yeah.
obscure. You're the first person in my entire career who's known all this stuff. I was
Uh-huh.
like, where did you learn it? She's like, on your website. She's,
Oh.
I was like,
You're like,
no
oh,
way. I was
okay,
like,
good
it
job.
works.
Good
It
job.
works. I was so excited. And she told me that she watched the entire contents of the website
Wow.
twice.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Wow.
how's that for a fanatic?
Oh, wow.
So anyway, I was like, there's someone as into it as me. How
Yeah.
amazing! Because I have to admit, I mean, I have to watch all this stuff to put it up, right?
Right.
So I mean, it's one thing to record it and do it. It's another thing to watch it.
Mhm, mhm.
And the happy surprise for me is that I can. It's like
Yeah,
tolerable. Like it's not just
right.
tolerable. It's actually interesting. Like I actually find it compelling, even though
Yeah.
it's me, because it's not really the camera's not on me, right? It's on the body,
Right.
and so it's
Yeah.
like me getting to do it all over again without the pressure of being on camera and trying
Mhm,
to accomplish the revelation of the tissues in a meaningful way. So it's really
mhm.
fun to watch. Actually, I enjoy it.
Oh, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
when you first started with the dissection, was that a little bit of a learning curve to figure out like how you were gonna go about it or explore it
Oh my
or
gosh! You mean when I first started out?
Mhm.
Oh, I was clueless.
Yeah. Yeah.
and 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 I had gone in grad school. I had a friend who was a medical student,
Mhm.
and he had to study on Saturdays for his tests on Mondays. So he'd be like, "Gil, come on in," because he knew I'd been to massage school and knew a little bit of anatomy, right?
Right.
So I would go in and say he was studying the arm that they dissected that week, and he'd say like,
Mhm.
"There's the other arm. You dissect that." So I
Uh-huh.
went in and that's how I actually got started with dissection. But the methods were alien to our sort of integrated holistic approaches that we have in massage school, and we kind of have like a borrowed anatomy,
Mhm.
right? So for the past whatever 120 years or something,
Yeah.
massage schools have been teaching anatomy, borrowing it from the medical profession, which is
Right.
fine. That's what was available. But I think after
Mhm.
120 years, it's about time we had our own anatomy,
Right.
right? And so what I've basically developed is what I call integral anatomy,
Mhm.
and I didn't have that when I started. I just had like Grant's Atlas in the lab, and I'm hacking away and doing it medical style, and I was like, ugh, this doesn't fit my idea about what the
Right.
body is. It's continuities. Right?
Mhm.
The relationships were not being demonstrated by that approach. So I was like, maybe I can dissect differently.
Yeah.
And who's going to stop me, because I'm the only guy, I'm making this up as I go along. And so I, when I was in massage school, Tom Myers, some of you know Tom Myers' name, he was my anatomy teacher at my pre-training for massage school at the Rolf Institute. And Tom talked about layers, and he talked about skin and superficial fascia and deep fascia. I was like, it was an idea in my mind that I was very excited about, and I knew I could feel those things in my hands. But I was like, what if I dissected that way? What if I just let's just do the whole skin and see what's underneath the whole skin. Let's whoa, it's yellow. My gosh, let's take that off. What's underneath that? And just went by layer, and that turned out to be an approach that revealed the anatomy in a way that made much more sense to Rolfers and massage therapists and physical therapists and pretty much anybody. I mean, I had professors walking into the lab on me who've been teaching anatomy in a gross lab for 30 years and wrote the textbook, and they're like, that's the way to do it. I got applause from the professors at the various universities where I taught, because they were like, that's cool. I want to dissect like that. Like, that's really neat. I've never seen that in my life. Stuff that people coming to my class were seeing on day one, just for reflecting the skin simultaneously, they were blown away. So I was like, okay, I'm onto something here, and it's going to keep going.
Yeah, I love it. And speaking of blown away, and you were talking about the skin, I was watching one of the videos about the tattoos and the layers, how far the tattoo layers go in. And, you don't think about that all the time, of what's really happening with all how many layers of things are going through. It was really fascinating. I just down that rabbit hole just in the skin chapter. I was like, oh my gosh, so much. And like,
this is a world of rabbit holes.
Yes, I know.
It's like a prairie dog field. It's all holes. You just go down and then
cancel my day. I have to do some anatomy and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really great to see all that. And I really I think a lot of people would appreciate the different layer, because it is like you were saying, we borrowed all the anatomy from the medical field, and then we've come a long way. I feel we have resources like the Trail Guide to the Body that's been really helps massage therapists a little bit, but still everything's a little two-dimensional, and you still don't really get a feel for what's in between our hands, and putting from the paper to that. And that's where
really I appreciate you mentioning Drew's book there, The Trail Guide to the Body, because Drew has inspired me just as a professional who created his own thing and got it out there to all the massage schools. And for years I've been like, that's amazing. And what if I could create maybe a visual compendium to accompany Drew's book, because I feel that it's complementary to it.
Right.
So that tickles me that you bring him in. Drew Beal, a wonderful guy, and made a wonderful book, and it's so widely adopted by the massage community. And I'm like, okay, great. Now we're just going to toss this into the pile and see if I can get the massage community to adopt this just as widely, because I feel like it's kind of a visual textbook that I've created, right? Or a video textbook.
Yes.
That can accompany. And that's a little bit different than say Robert Ackland's work, who I also respect and admire. Robert Ackland, who did the what was it called? The Video Atlas of Human Anatomy. And he preceded me in producing videos. He's an older gentleman, and rest in peace. But he did it from the medical approach, very regional, creating very, very tight snippets of just a single thing. And it's hard to understand the relationships or where it came from that way. And it's amazing, and also needed as a compliment. So it's like, okay, there's the finished product. Now let's show the process. And I think the process is revelatory,
Yeah, I think it can help us as body workers, massage therapists, think about the process and the layers that we're doing the body work to, because especially in the beginning, and we're teaching the students, okay, we have to work through layers. We have to melt and soften different layers as we're going, and you don't want to work on a cold body, those kinds of things. And it's like, okay, you get that idea, but why? And then when you really start to break it down and just see how many layers there are, and they're like, okay, this makes so much more sense. What's going on.
And the dissection process has helped me to discover things I didn't know were there. Right? So there was like rumor of stuff being there, and then there was stuff that just didn't make the book, didn't make a picture, and then once you see it, it's like, it's jarring. It's like if you went to the moon and found a building or something, you'd be like, what? I didn't know there was a building on the moon. So it's like that. You've looked at all these anatomy books, and you've studied anatomy and memorized stuff, and then you actually go to a body, and you're like, is that supposed to be there?
Mm-hmm.
And that massage therapists are there. They're in the body. They're feeling
Right.
everything, and they just
Yeah.
don't necessarily have a visual for it, or a word, or even a sense of the texture necessarily. And they're like, does this texture fit? Is this a mistake? I can remember going when I was in college. I had a backache, and I went in. I have scoliosis, right? My back doesn't go like a S; it goes like C, like backwards. So my
Okay.
my spinous processes of my lumbar curve kind of stick out like a stegosaurus, and which I was just used to it. I didn't even think about it.
Right.
But when I went into this poor medical student who actually, so she had to call in the surgeon, or she had to call in her intern or resident or whatever, and she thought I had tumors.
Oh gosh.
I was like, no, those are spinous processes, honey. This is like, we're okay. Yeah, so, but I don't know why I told that story.
Finding what's down there. You were saying actually discovering what's there.
Yeah. Not being so sure when you feel it, because it might not look the same or something. So to feel the textures, to learn them, to associate imagery with them, and then to be able to go back and check it again. So that's what we can do.
Yeah. And so if you also finding what's there, what did you have maybe in the beginning or even now seeing the differences from one form to another?
Oh, from one side to the other, from one side of one side to the other. The variety is the rule. So I like to say that integral anatomy starts with the actual person in front of you, or the form on the table. That's 100% accurate human anatomy. The only meaningful point of comparison, right, is what's in front of you. Because if you're massaging a book image in your head, you're not dealing with the person in front of you, who is not that image, who is not that average, who is not that mean. So the person in front of you is the one to work on, not the person in your head, not the body in your head. Because the body in your head is literally a fantasy. It's not on your table in front of you, and you really can feel your way in. We're having that one moment.
Here, let me trade places with you.
Oh, okay, 1 second.
And I'll chat with Michelle, and you can talk to them.
Okay, I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
Hello.
New guest. Hi.
Hi. I know I'm not Gil, but it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Do you want to tell our friends who are watching who you are and how you work with Gil?
Absolutely. So it's so nice to meet everybody. My name's Rachel Scott, and I'm Gil's partner, but I also girlfriend, but I also work with him in his business to basically help him get all the courses online and manage them. So we're starting the process right now, which is super exciting, of coursifying Gil's work. Now he does have courses, obviously lots of online stuff, but I'm an instructional designer and a yoga person. So I'm a yoga teacher trainer. And so as we move forward, what I'm helping him to do with, of course, his massive A to Z project is to take that and, to create those quizzes and things like that, so that he can make sure that students are really taking in the information that he really wants to give them. And so that people can get continuing education credits and all of that. And because it's massive right now, like on his site. We just want to keep putting more and more information out there and creating all of these, these courses, so that people can get credit for all of the work they're doing and all the learning they're doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, just alone the information, let alone you get some credit for it too, possibly. I know it's amazing. I'm going to pop up that website for anybody watching right now. Now we can kind of plug it a little bit, and that you have right now the Explorer program, or the Explorer membership that's going on that you've built. And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So Gil's vision, and I'm not sure if I see what he means about not having the little pad.
Yeah, I know it does make a difference, right?
I'm like, oh, that's kind of harsh. So anyway, so his vision was really, because, he might have spoken about this already, but he had, these different courses. And last year when we pivoted and really went online with the live streams, it was great, but it was like $120 per live stream, which is super cheap for 10 hours of continuing education credit. But he was like, you know what? I really just want to be of service, and I want to put everything out there and just have it in one place at a really accessible price. And of course, lots of people are like, Gil, you're crazy. Like, why are you making it so cheap? And he's like, because I want like anybody who, students, he knows that his people like us out there in the yoga world for sure, in massage world, it's like, it's not like we have a ton of cash kicking around, but we're super passionate about what we do. So that's why he was really excited to, instead of having all of these piecemeal products, to put it like everything he's ever done and all of his new projects and everything going forward. He's like, I'll give you everything for $15. You back?
I'm back.
Do I still need to talk to them?
I can talk to. Oh no, they're gone. We had their right address.
Yay, you did it!
I'm turning over.
Happy Friday.
We literally just spent 3.5 hours on hold with the IRS to find out that they had our address correct.
Oh, jeez.
So.
Yeah. So I was just asking Rachel a little bit about the website while you were gone, to plug it a little bit about the membership.
Oh, awesome.
The Explorer membership. So, and that amazingly $15 a month is unheard of for everything that you get. Like I was saying earlier, the fascia column was like all these things, and I was like, oh my gosh, just that alone, so many options to explore in there, and things to come still.
So much to come. So there's about 130 hours of video content up there. About 40 of it you can get credit for right now, but we'll be coursifying, as Rachel might have mentioned, all the content we put up there. So I have another 160 hours of video already shot in the can and ready to edit. So that'll bring it up to 270 hours of video on the site that'll all be credit worthy, right? And then the second I'm done editing that, I'm going to start a new project. So in addition to the Anatomy from A to Z project, which emphasize, the thing about dissection is when you start dissecting, you have to make choices every time you use your blade, right? It's all choice. And so it's very subjective what you're showing. And so if I want to say, show off a maimed muscle and its shape, and free it from the body and put it on a table and compare it to another one or several, right? What happened to the nerve tree? Well, I cut it now, and it's still in there, and you can't see it because if I show it to you, I have to shred it, and then you can't see the muscle anymore, right? So this time I'm going to do I'm going to do the nervous system, and I'm going to do it on camera. So I'm going to create, maybe another 100 or 200 hours of footage, maybe more, of me dissecting the nerve tree. And documenting that for us, because I feel like what I've created right now, what I've shot right now, will literally keep the massage industry busy for the next 30 or 40 years. Like literally. And the yoga people and the Pilates people, and in other words, all these different fields should be kept pretty busy by this for a very long time.
Right.
And I thought, okay, now let me do the dissection of the nervous system very thoroughly, film it, and I will keep the doctors, the naturopaths, the physiotherapists, the exercise physiologists, and the osteopaths busy for another 50 or 100 years. So that's,
I know. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine. And that's something with the nerves. I'm just thinking about, students ask about it, and we're like, yeah, we're more muscle people. But yeah, there are definitely nerves. We talk about the big ones and the ones that we'll talk about, like the thoracic outlet stuff and the, the carpal tunnel stuff and the sciatica stuff. And, but the more even that we get, understanding of how the nerves are innervating the muscles, then all the more help us too to make better choices in our treatments.
Well, something that I learned while I was doing this very thorough muscle dissection, I mean, like if it's been named, I have cut it. And some things that haven't been named, I cut those too, lots of it. But what I realized was that every single named muscle, right? Whatever, pick one, pec major, right? Has viscera. It has its guts, right? So I talk about the viscera of the whole body being the nerve tree and the heart tree, which kind of infiltrate all of our tissues, right? So when you get down into the nitty gritty of a particular tissue, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like as above, so below. This is like a little person, this pec major, and this pec major has a tummy, right? And it has nerves and arteries there in a very busy way. So like every muscle is kind of plugged in, as it were, with a tree infiltrating it. And it comes in different ways. So like a big long muscle like sartorius that goes from, ASIS all the way down to pes and serinus, right?
Mhm.
So that's like 2 feet, right?
Right.
So along those 2 feet, there are going to be like numerous places where nerves and vessels enter into that muscle. Once you start to like get into the sort of the particulars of any given named muscle, you're like, oh, well, what if I hang out with it where it has a special relationship or a particularly robust relationship with the nervous system, with the heart tree? And I might get a little more mileage out of my touch if I know those things or can feel them. And so I show that, and that's all that I have recorded, all of that stuff. So like literally for every muscle, I'm like, here's its belly, here's the tummy of this muscle. And if you want to tickle it in the tummy, go here. So.
Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating. I just can't wait. I know what I'm doing tonight. Going down, diving deeper.
Going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. So thinking of this makes me very excited. I consider myself somewhat of a little bit of a geek, and you coined the term Somanauts, right? That's what you call people. So body and explorers, if you will, right?
Naut is like nautical, or it's from like to navigate. So a sailor, like in Latin. So a body sailor, right?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of us out there who would consider us in that group of people. But what about the ones who don't quite think of themselves that way, or are intimidated to try to explore that, or have been a little frustrated about their journey to even get to where they are? How can they come on board the boat, if you will?
I understand them.
Yeah.
You can literally turn the volume off. Don't listen to me. And then just like watch the images, because it's so fascinating. It's like if you watched a slow motion sculpture form, right? And it's like there's this block of something, and then you peel and pull and yank at things, and then something appears, and it's surprising and exciting. So I've found that visually it's very compelling for people who find the words overwhelming. But also, as you can tell from having a conversation with me right now, I'm not that complicated. You know what I'm saying? I'm a hands-on, in the thing kind of person myself, and that's why I find dissection so rewarding, because you don't have to have any words, and also if you hang out with it, the words will come. Because I don't use so many of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like once you've watched 2 hours of footage on the pec major, it's like Marvel, you kind of know, like that's Thor. Like I know that's Thor.
I got it. We're good.
That's you know what I'm saying. So it's an easy way in. And I had friends at in my massage training at our Rolf Institute who had a hard time with it. I just happened to have been to grad school and had studied Greek and Latin in my studies, and so the anatomy language came a little easier to me. But once what makes it hard to learn anatomy is that it's too abstract. It's a bunch of words in the air, and you can't connect it to anything. And even when they tell you where it is on the body, it's not enough.
Yeah.
And so what this kind of site does, what this content does, is it anchors these words and gives them meaning in front of your face. Like, in other words, it's like if we talked about our friend Bob in front of a crowd of people all day long, no one would ever have a sense of Bob. But if Bob walked in the door, you'd be like, oh, Bob, like, and you have somewhere to hang the word Bob on this face and this voice and this movement patterns, right? It's the same thing with the anatomy. It's too abstract. You can't so I find it impossible to learn in a meaningful way from words and books. Right. But if you talk about those words while looking at the thing and yanking it around and showing the tensions that run through it and its shape and texture, and literally after each one of those muscles I talk about, like literally every muscle in the body has been named, I took out the 4 of them, like one from each side of the 2 bodies, and then put them on a table and talked about them all over again.
Wow.
So it's like it's in the body, it's off the body, it's next to each other. And at that point, whether you want to remember it or not, you're kind of stuck with it. You can't. It's like, I give up. I know what the pec is.
Right. I got it. All right.
In fact, would you just shut up about the pec? But I think it anchors it. And so it's like, now we know who he's talking about. Now we know who she's talking about.
Yeah. So I know a lot of our students, and over when I was in school and everything, everyone was like, thought it was so excited if we could go to a cadaver lab or some kind of, sometimes like those exhibits come around with the bodies exhibits and
Oh
things like
yeah.
that. But there's also people who are like a little squeamish about it, maybe, or concerned about, being in the room with it and that kind of stuff. And I remember my first time I went, I remember a student was like doing this kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
whoa, because the fumes got to her.
Yeah, oh,
Um,
drifty, yeah.
yeah, so she we had to take her outside and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
but also a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is kind of, for lack of a better word, gross," or
Yeah, it's gross.
yeah, it's not so great, but do you have people that really really opposed to it, or
W
take some convincing
Well,
to?
if they're coming to my class, they're long ago
Yeah, they're
convinced,
they're they're coming.
right?
Yeah.
So I get the people who are in it, 100%. Although we do have programs running at our laboratory that involve the local massage school and other local
Mhm.
community groups, and they're a little less. If you lower the price, the enthusiasm lowers too.
Yeah.
If someone's going to spend thousands of dollars, they're not going to come unless
Right.
they're really into it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to spend like 15, you're like, maybe I'm not so sure. Let me at least check it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in person, it can be challenging. The odors are challenging. The space is so different and unusual to
Mhm.
most people's experience. But
Mhm.
for my website and the content that I share there, I do it, I think, in a way that's sort of aesthetically conscious.
Mhm.
It's appreciative of people's sensibilities.
Right.
If you watch, say, my Integral Anatomy series, I have a lot of nature imagery that's kind of sewn into the videos. It's,
Mhm.
whatever, 7.5 hours of video. And there's a lot of nature content in there. I think that often softens it. In the
Mhm.
lab for this project, A to Z project, I mean, I'm literally talking 240 hours of video. So I couldn't
Right.
I couldn't sew that much nature into my
Yeah.
editing. Instead, on the page that you look at, there'll be some flower or something
Mhm. Yeah.
like that. And then also Daisy is part, and she's my friend. I don't know. Have you met Daisy yet? Have you gotten far enough in the videos to meet Daisy?
No, not yet.
Oh, well, Daisy is going to come along, and and Daisy is this wonderful plant. And after a couple months, now, like I said, 17 months, it took me a couple months to realize that Daisy had to be in every shot.
Oh. Oh, I love that.
Eventually, it's kind of like any series that develops on TV. Like you watch the
Mhm.
first season, then it's kind of quirky, and then by
Yeah.
third season, you're like,
Yeah.
you can't stop. Well, and they bring in a new
Yeah.
character. Well, Daisy
Right.
comes in, maybe say season 3, and lasts for
Uh-huh.
18 seasons or something, and she's still going strong. Her hair has grown. We're making babies out of her now, and the whole
Oh.
world is going to be populated by this
Oh, I love that.
philodendron. And so all the shots will start out with like this giant green plant and me
Uh,
and standing next to each other. And sometimes I kiss her and hug her and pet her.
oh.
So it makes it a little softer.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think too, like you're saying on the video, it does make it more accessible to people who are not having to, be nervous like right there.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
you can stop a video. You can pause.
Mhm.
If you're
Yeah.
stuck in a class, it's going to go for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You can't get away.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is very, very user friendly. And you take it at the pace. I have to tell you, when I first started learning
Uh-huh.
anatomy in massage school, I had Clemente, which was an old atlas. You maybe have a copy of Clemente on
Mhm.
your shelf somewhere. Carmine Clemente, a little Italian anatomist. It made me sick just to look at his drawings.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh,
Uh-huh.
and then I started looking at Netter, and I was like, oh, a little queasy.
Oh, yeah.
And then finally, I got to the Color Atlas of Anatomy, not the coloring book by Captain Nelson,
Right,
but
right,
the
right.
Color Atlas by Rowan and Yokoshi. And I literally looked at it like, like I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was terrified, and I was also compelled. Like I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I gotta look again, but I can't look for long because
Right.
it's too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how I was. You wouldn't believe it now for what I
Uh,
do. But when
yeah.
I started out, I was not into it at all.
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah, it takes a minute. Yeah, for sure. My first time in the lab too, and I was just like, oh, I don't know. And I don't know if you know Todd Garcia. He
I
used to
know
have a
him very
lab.
well. He started out with me.
Yeah, he used to have a lab here. When I taught at a different school, we went to the
Yes,
lab
his
out here
Arizona
in
lab. Yeah.
Arizona. And I remember one time I came to check out the facilities, and he hands me a thigh. He's like, "Here, can you help us warm this up a little bit?" And I'm like, because it was the unpreserved
Unfixed. Yeah.
specimen.
So
Yeah.
it's,
And I'm like, okay, I'm just massaging the quadriceps on this leg. Like,
Yeah.
all right, we're past it now.
Yeah. You're moving
That's
right
what it
into it.
is.
Mhm.
So, but just getting past the ick factor and just realizing this is amazing to see all this and to be able
Yeah.
to actually experience what is going on underneath my hands. It's a gift, and the work
Yeah. A
that you all
tremendous
are
gift.
doing to help us with that is an amazing gift, and
Yeah.
the gift that of the forums that have been part
Yes.
of it. And I love that you do talk a lot about on your website the respect and communication
Yeah.
that must come along with this. Can you speak a little bit to that
Yeah,
and
this
how?
is super personal for me. I mean,
Mhm.
I know these people's families.
Mhm.
You know, they're not their bodies weren't donated by nobody. They didn't come out of the
Mhm.
sky. They were donated by families. I'm connected to those
Oh,
families.
wow.
And so, you know, these are people who we know through the lab, and so we
Mhm.
take good care of them, and we make sure that our use is following their hope to be teachers of anatomy, right? Because
Mhm.
every donor is hoping to teach something, right? With
Yeah.
their body, and so I feel a tremendous responsibility in my own work to honor their gifts, not only by opening them, right? Like you
Mhm.
don't, if someone handed you a present, you didn't open it, it'd be kind of rude, right?
Yeah.
So we get these presents, these gifts, and we open them up, and then also I feel like terribly greedy if I'm the only one who gets to learn from it, right? Like, so I want to share it. You know,
Yeah.
I want to amplify and magnify their gift so that literally everybody who looks at the stuff that I share then become the beneficiary of that gift, right? And sort of
Yeah.
responsible for the gift that they receive to then share that. And so it's this big chain reaction, and it's amazing how powerful these gifts are, because I get emails all the time like, oh, you know, this changed the way I touch. My clients say I don't touch
Mhm.
the same way anymore, and I
Yeah.
got this idea from what I saw, and I was able to help a client who I hadn't been able to help before. This is the most
Mhm.
gratifying part of the work for me,
Yeah.
because when I get this feedback, was I don't know, I'm not a practitioner of anything at this point. I gave up massage and Rolfing long ago to do anatomy full time,
Mhm.
and yet I work with folks from, you know, a great variety of disciplines and
Right.
modalities, and they tell me, you know, I provide this most basic information, like, look at this, this is
Right.
what it is, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what it is, and then they go and take their technique and they apply it in a way
Mhm.
that helps somebody, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, this is good service, you know.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty excited about that level, and that just circles back to the respect, you know, and the appreciation for what we've been given in this, and that's
Right.
it is a big part of my work, is to just be in a state of appreciation and gratitude and thanksgiving for the honor, you know,
Right.
and the responsibility that I carry in bringing this out to the world in a way that is of service rather than just, you know. That's just, yeah, that's all. I'll leave it at
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, I love it, and bringing it out to the world in such a way that is not only accessible, very affordable, but also your style. I don't know if anyone's ever thanked you and complimented you on your style of presenting. It's interesting and it's
Thank you.
entertaining, and
Thank you.
and
It's
of course,
fun.
yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
fun, and I love some of the like talks I've seen years ago about different things. Like the cellulite talk was like a
Oh,
really
yeah.
like fun, and you know, just the way that it's like we're having just a conversation, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't have to feel like I don't know what we're talking about and I can't carry on that conversation. It's
Right.
totally
No,
accessible to
yeah.
even the beginner.
If my mom can't follow what I'm saying, I got to start
Mhm.
over again. And she's 87. You
Yeah.
know, so to my mind, I want my mom to be able to watch this website and enjoy it. And she does, enjoy it. In fact, she was really proud of herself because she took the fuzz course
Oh,
and she passed it. And she was like,
right.
oh, she was so excited.
Oh, that's so great. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
that's so cool. Yeah, I love that with the fuzz. And we mentioned that a bit in our connective tissue classes and talk about learning about the fascia and all the different layers. And
Yeah.
that's it's really cool to go beyond just the muscles and the
Yeah.
pictures on the in the books and screens and things.
Yeah,
So
and that tour talk is up for free on my site. I mean, for
hmm
those folks who don't even have the $15,
hmm
you know, there's about 20 hours
yeah,
of free content in the Easy Rider free membership to the site.
yeah. Yeah, I'll
So
put that
that
back up
should be
again on the
like,
website.
yeah, that should be like just I mean, if you become a massage therapist, you just got to watch that stuff. It's like I put basically the whole learning curve of my career in those 20 hours and gave them away for free. So, you know, you can't say I went there and I couldn't afford it, you know, so it's just like, it's there for you. I have a commitment to service myself and accessibility. I feel like the human body is like, that's the thing that the whole planet's got one of, right? In other words, you know, you might have a Rolls Royce and you might have a piece of cardboard over a grate, but you've both got one body, right? And you both got to poop and you got to eat and you got to sleep. And we have these basic functions that we share as humans, right? And to my mind, that's like the great leveling. The great anatomy is the leveler. You know, you can share anatomy with people from other countries, other religions, other persuasions, other cultures, and we're all dealing with having to breathe through a nose and a mouth, having to hear through our ears. You know, there's so many basics that we share. If you can't get over who you voted for, just keep it to the body, and you can sustain a conversation with each other. So
it's so great. Once you get past that, once you get past the color of the skin, there's all that fascia and muscle, and it's really what we're down to.
What it's down to,
and I love for our students, wanting to encourage them to dive deeper into the work. And I know what you mentioned right in the beginning, that when you went to school, you realized that you needed more of anatomy. And we get a lot of our students who graduate, even the ones who really did well, the whole program, they're like, please don't let me leave. I don't know anything yet.
And it's true. I don't know anything yet.
Right. I said, I don't either. I am just learning as I go. And there's still so much out there. And there's so many layers of knowledge. And, you know, quite literally in our field as well, but you know, just how much we can dive into that. And to enhance the body work, I just really know to understand that anatomy is so important, and why we're doing what we're doing, and why we're saying to do things the way we do. It reminds me of a video, the Fascia video that you do with the foam rolling. You call it, I think it's called foam rolling video or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And it reminded me of that, you know, everyone's like, oh, you should foam roll. If you're a runner, you should foam roll. And like, do you even know what you're saying to do, and what structure are you doing that to? And is that really as effective as you think it is? And if you watch that video and see what the actual layers of things are, and understand maybe foam rolling's not what is really doing what we all think it's supposed to be doing, or people don't know about it. So enhancing that work, just things like that in a practical sense of things that you hear on a day-to-day is such a great outcome of these tools that you've made available to everybody.
Thank you.
So I'm very appreciative, and I want to get my students more into it. And I had mentioned that we do have an institutional membership now as a school to explore. So we are working on ways to enhance our in-person instruction to include all those different layers and get them excited about watching the videos and diving in those deeper layers.
Wonderful. I mean, there's the visual content of the planet is very large at the moment, right? There's so much out there, and not all of it's so positive or enriching, you know. So it's like, you know, if you're gonna spend your time ticket, this will help you be a better servant of the folks you're touching, and also help you connect to your own body better, I think. Right?
I did learn.
You can feel yourself more for having seen these things.
I did learn. That was always an outcome for me from massage school too, is just understanding what's going on for me. And those are my favorite clients, who are in touch more with what they know what's going on too. Although sometimes a little too many directives from them.
Oh,
too. They're like, oh, I know what's going on. You got to do this for me. But we can, I love that.
I am not your puppet.
But having a better understanding is all the world to us. So I appreciate all the work. I can't wait for all more stuff coming down the line there for it too.
So much more stuff coming down the line.
Oh, it's so exciting. So the classes that your instructors will be doing, they'll be in person, that people can start joining. Are there dates that are starting to come up on?
Okay. At my website, there's if you just go to courses and click on that, you'll see, you know, a link for the schedule.
Okay, awesome.
The dissection courses being offered at the Institute under my umbrella, and there are other courses being offered there too. We're all just in it together, a group of us, and we're just like really into enjoying the community that we build around this process. Because when you go diving in like this, it's very intense, and you know, you get a little raw, a little vulnerable, and we create a very warm, supportive environment for that kind of self-discovery that is that accompanies the dissection, because it's really not just about naming stuff. Not at all. Actually, that's the least interesting part of it. Actually, it's more about, you know, both learning to see what you touch, but also to realize, oh, I'm not connected to this part of myself. And it's kind of cool. So that's too. I can, and people get a deeper connection to themselves by being exposed to these, you know, amazing internal qualities that are shared by us. And it's like, oh my gosh, you start to have more respect for the living as well as for the dead, right? Because it's like, oh wow, we're all walking miracles, and you sort of like, I don't really want to flip the bird to that person who cut me off. Maybe they're in a rush, you know?
I love that. I say that stuff too all the time. I love that. So life is too short, and we're like, there's too much going on for us to get worried about that kind of stuff. And,
exactly.
Oh, I love that. Well, Gil, I have a few extra questions to ask, and these are more of my, well, they're fun for me. Questions to ask.
We'll see if they're fun for me.
Yes, they are. All my guests get these questions at the end, so I love you participate in these because we're wrapping up on our time, and I know you have I don't want to take too much of your time today, so let's dive into these. So your first question: which talent or superpower would you most like to have?
Which talent or superpower would I most like to have? Patience.
I love it. That's pretty much
patience with technology.
Oh goodness, yeah. Oh,
Rachel says amen, because
we've come a long way. I feel like that's come out of COVID, is that we've all had a little bit more patience because we've had to, like, there's no way around it with either that, or we will all just like go nuts. So good one. I like it. Okay. If you weren't doing what you do, so if you weren't into your anatomy and body work, things that you've done, what occupation do you think you would most like to have, or what would you have done differently?
If I weren't doing this, I would maybe have like a radio show with guests.
Okay.
And
any specific topics, or
all the ones that count? Like to have conversations, kind of Joe Rogan style, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I would enjoy that very much.
Nice. Oh, awesome. If money or circumstances weren't issues, where would you most like to live in the world?
I'm there.
You're here. I love it.
Yeah, in the mountains of Colorado.
Oh, that's great. How long have you been in that area?
I lived here about 20 years ago for 4 years, and then we came back about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And
coming home, the feeling.
I'm very happy to be back. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And this one always trips people up, so we'll see what your answer is. What is your most treasured possession?
My most treasured. I don't really care about stuff.
I know, that's what everyone says.
I'd have to say
it's hard. It's hard.
My most treasured possession. My most treasured possession. What would I care about if it all burned down?
Maybe that earplug cushion.
The other cushion to my. Yeah, that would be awesome if I weren't having my eardrum pierced by this chunk of plastic. I would say, you know something? I mean, my computer at the moment is, the screen is busted. I'm talking to you on Rachel's screen through my monitor. I guess, I used to say like my Bible, and then I was like, my body is like the whole creation is actually right here. I don't even need a book to learn about the creation and the meaning of life. So maybe this, but I'd give it up for someone too. So I don't know.
All right.
That's a tough one.
We'll take the earplug one as an
Oh,
idea.
there's screaming lobster tails in the background. My friend Juno sent me these pastries the other day from New York City, from Ferrara's Bakery. It's this Italian pastry, and it has this incredible cream filling.
Oh my goodness!
And she sent me it was like a frozen
Yeah.
ice cubes that make smoke. I forget what you call those things.
The dry ice stuff.
Yeah, it was on dry ice, and they just watched me devour this whole thing over the course of 3 days. And they're all like, "Lobster tails is your favorite position."
I think they want some, is what happened, because they saw you eat them all. They're like, let's get us some more. Those are watching.
That's it.
I love that. New York pastries. I'm from upstate New York. We used to go to New York City every year, and my husband's from Manhattan. And New York pastries. Not in Arizona. We're not getting it, but
they're amazing.
So I get
not in Arizona, no. Nor bagels. Yes. You're not going to get any good bagels.
Oh no! I had my husband shipped for Father's Day one year. I got him H&H bagels from New York City. So he actually cried. Oh, hopefully he's not watching right now for me telling that story. He was just so touched by it. So.
Us and the 20,000 people watching.
Exactly. Yeah, that's okay. Everyone knows he's a big softie, which is part of the reason why I love him. But okay. So your final question: what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
My 18-year-old self. The road will be rocky and times can be really hard, and just keep going, because right on the other side of your darkest night is a dawn.
Oh, I love that.
That's what I would tell him.
Wow. Good memory for all of us, I think, any age, to remember that. I love it. So, oh my gosh, my husband just commented that he loves Ferrara's Bakery. So, so he heard the other thing too.
Yeah, Chinatown literally comes up to Ferrara's, and Ferrara's was like Little Italy used to extend much further out in Manhattan, and Chinatown just kept growing, and Little Italy just kept shrinking. But the line was drawn at Ferrara's.
That's so funny. I love it. I'm going to go and put your website up there one more time for anyone to check out the Explorer membership. Tons of free content on the website, and looking forward to all of the new stuff coming our way from Gil and Rachel, and thanking both of you so much for setting this up with me today, and sharing with our students and all the rest of our audience to get to explore and love anatomy a little bit more and dive deeper to exploring that.
Enjoy.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next time for the next recording. Take care, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.